Your next news update, 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Walter Russell Mead, writing in the Journal, the U.S. shrugs as World War III approaches. The news from abroad is chilling. Amazon Post columnist David Ignatius reports from Kyiv that Ukraine is bleeding out as its weary soldiers struggle against an numerically superior Russia. The New York Times reports that China is expanding the geographical reach and escalating violence in its campaign to drive Philippine forces from islands and shoals that Beijing illegitimately claims. And Bloomberg reports that Washington officials are fearful that Russia will help Iran cross the finish line in its race for nuclear weapons. Our partner in peace, Iran? Imagine. These stories, Mead continues, all from liberal news outlets generally favorable to the Biden administration, tell a tragic and terrifying tale of global failure on the part of the U.S. and its allies. China, Russia, and Iran are stepping up their attacks on what remains of the Pax Americana and continue to make gains at the expense of Washington and its allies around the world. Well, I'll see those aggressive acts of China, Russia, and Iran, and I'll raise you a fully gender-integrated submarine the U.S. Navy recently unveiled.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
What colors is it? The rainbow?
The USS New Jersey was commissioned Saturday at a ceremony at Naval Weapons Station Earl in Middletown, New Jersey. And, first gender-integrated. So men and women in close quarters in a submarine. Yeah. How about that?
In the Navy.
Adjustments have been made to increase privacy in washrooms and sleeping areas and to improve access to top bunks and overhead valves. They lowered
Top
the
bunk.
infrastructure of the ship because women tend to be shorter and put steps up for top bunks because they tend to have a harder time lifting themselves up.
Oh, my.
So, the American military is answering the call.
Our enemies are watching.
So are the Canadians. The Canadian military is alternating between an investigation into a tampon dispenser in a men's washroom that was destroyed, because that's a hate crime, and a report they conducted in preparation for the first manned moon mission in 50 years, I should say. A report the Canadian military did, discussing some of the concerns about this prospective manned moon mission. For example, existing approaches are ahistorical and thus invisibilize diverse stakeholders and voices, including the role of women and representatives from the global south in shaping contemporary space law and governance. Also, there is concern about the ignoring of the role of power and inequality in structuring space activities and infrastructure, both past and present. The existing approaches to space exploration are also gender biased. The language of major treaties, resolutions, and other international instruments related to outer space is highly gendered and biased toward males. Terms like mankind, astronauts, and envoys of mankind, man's entry in outer space, manned and unmanned stations, and so on and so forth. These are things that must be navigated before we can green light that manned moon mission in Canada, so says its military. So the Canadian military and the United States military are on the you better look out, mullahs in Tehran, Putin in Moscow, Xi in Beijing. I hope you're reading these stories. For more on the state of Western civilization, such as it is, Pleased to be joined by Roger Kimball, the editor of the new Criterion. Roger, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Hey, it's great to chat.
So,
Gosh, you had quite a litany of insanity there.
Insanity.
It's
insanity.
reality.
Insanity, you say. The hell you say. Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, Roger, you're a man of letters, and you think about these geopolitical dynamics. So, how do you think we're doing?
We're not doing very well. It's curious that you began with was it the gender neutral submarine? I happened to be speaking last night with John Lehman, who was the former Secretary of the Navy back when the U.S. Navy was devoted to protecting the United States and projecting power. And
I remember that. Yeah, I remember that.
It was a long time. It wasn't that long ago, but it seems like another age, doesn't it? Well, he was going on about this, and it's a very good thing that the United States is as rich and well protected as it is, because I recall that little poem by Hilaire Belloc about the barbarians, and how they're on the outskirts of the city looking in, and everybody thinks they're so amusing. But you look at their faces and you see that they are not laughing. Believe me, the Chinese aren't laughing. Vladimir Putin is not laughing. The mullahs in Iran, who are, as I think you just said this, they're possibly weeks or at most months away from acquiring a nuclear weapon. They're not laughing. Why people think that when the mullahs say death to America, they don't mean death to America is a great puzzle. I really don't understand it. But that was as I said, a kind of depressing but wholly accurate litany of insanity. It is our reality. It is a reality, but it certainly was insane that you treated your listeners to.
Maybe we can enlist the aid, or I don't know, contract out some of our national security concerns to Mossad, because
yes, I love that. I know. Yeah. I want to go into the pager business. we need more pagers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, message and data rates may apply. And we know too. I mean, just in terms of precision of this hack and this this response, 8 of the 9 people that were taken out by ostensibly Mossad with that pager attack were in fact identified Hezbollah leaders.
Yes, yeah, that's what I've read that as well. No, they're very clever. I believe that they've never taken credit for it, as far as I know. But
no,
I believe they were behind the so-called Stuxnet. Is that what it's called?
Yes.
Stuxnet virus
right.
Several years ago,
right?
Which crippled the Iranian, centrifuges that they were using to refine their fissile material.
Well,
so yes, we're living in a very strange time. Here we have another operative attempting to kill Donald Trump on his golf course just a few days ago, and people seem surprised. But why would you be surprised when the drumbeat of the media and other politicians, Democratic politicians, has just and erstwhile Republicans as well, has been accelerating and in both in its rapidity and its volume, telling us, warning us that Donald Trump is a dictator in waiting, that he is literally Hitler, that he is going to erase our freedoms and put people in camps. This is, you can see this day in and day out. So why is it surprising that people should be fired up by this and go out and try to assassinate him?
Well, when people say that, it's like he was president for 4 years already. He didn't put anybody in camps. Okay.
Exactly. You follow me like a leopard, Amy, as P.G. Woodhouse would say. I mean, we know what he's like as president. We know that he restored the country's economy. He made us energy independent. We had a border. Incredible foreign policy initiatives like the Abraham Accords. It was a very successful term. We know what he's like, and the incredibly irresponsible, dangerous, anti-American rhetoric of the other side is, I mean, it's really mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, I guess part of this too. Just thinking about the what the Israelis ostensibly did to those Hezbollah.
Brilliant.
The managing the vice presidents of the Hezbollah terrorist group, essentially.
Yeah.
I had this conversation with Pierre Rihov, who's a French-Israeli documentarian, the other week. You're just asking him what he thought in terms of the resolve here, the resolve of Israel to eradicate Hamas, to complete the mission, the resolve of Israel to defenestrate the Iranians as needed, and versus the resolve in the West to support Israel in its efforts to combat Islamofascism. And, his answer was, I have no doubt about Israel's resolve, but I have a lot of doubt about the West's resolve. And that's sort of...
No, I mean, that's good. He's right to have doubts about that.
Right. So, I mean, part of it is, it seems to me, and this is in part, the fault of conservatives too, we haven't made the compelling case about the threat level to America from these malevolent actors like Russia, China, and Iran.
Yes. Yeah. No. I think that's absolutely right. It's and I think one key to this is there are probably two things. One is, ever since ancient times, moralists have warned about the dangerous effects of luxury. And, we are, although there are certainly a lot of problems with our economy, the debt being a big one, we still are an incredibly prosperous, pampered society. And that, I think, has, to some extent, helped fuel some of the mind-boggling things that you were reciting at the beginning, the tampon things in boys' bathrooms and stuff like that. But it's not only is it prosperity that's the problem. It is also how to put this. It's not Democrats. It's not Republicans. It's the swamp. It's the administrative state. We have given over our polity, they like to use the phrase our democracy, to this huge network of faceless bureaucrats. Congress does not legislate for this country anymore. It's the deep state, the administrative state, that does this. And that regime party, which is neither Democrat nor Republican, they are in charge. If you just look what happened with the defenestration of Joe Biden in July and the instant coronation of Kamala Harris. How did that happen? I mean, Joe Biden he won the primary. He got all the votes. She wasn't running, but somehow she was installed and was transformed almost overnight from one of the most unpopular politicians in the United States to the reincarnation of Winston Churchill. It's really quite extraordinary. But Vivek Ramaswamy, I think, put his finger on an important aspect of this development. He said, we're not running against a candidate. We're running against a system, what I call the committee. And the committee's interests are in keeping the endless wars going. They're happy to make deals with all of these people who wish us ill, who say death to America.
Yeah, well, part of the committee though is the mainstream media. Don't you agree?
Absolutely.
They made her be the it girl.
I think the mainstream media is the what I call the propaganda press. They are doing the bidding. They're wielding the microphones for who knows who's on the committee. It's hard to say who's in and who's out, but they are the they're wielding the troops with the megaphones, but they take their orders, I think, from the committee and whoever's on it. And it's marvelous to behold, but very dangerous. And I think that we need to figure out a way of depreciating the role of Washington, of the regime party in the metabolism of our politics. Because if we don't, we will eventually become slaves to it. And that process is very far advanced.
Well, we have, less than 2 months before the election, so we know what they're doing and why they're doing it. So what should Trump be doing in response, and how well is he doing it?
Well, I am very impressed with the quality of his campaign this time. I mean, it's much better than it was in 2020, and much better, even more than it was in 2016. He's got, great team. I think the endorsements of people like RFK and Tulsi Gabbard has been important, and people like serious people like Elon Musk. That's all to the good. But you've noticed that he's been practically shut out of the conversation in the mainstream media. The question is, what do the voters hear? Trump crosses the country, these rallies. RFK Jr. is doing that. I think he is going to win, but he needs to win, as he himself put it. He has to win by a margin that is too big to rig, because we already are seeing all kinds of machinations with, voting machines and the ballot drop boxes and, early voting ballots, going astray and so on. So it's going to be, we need to be constantly vigilant, but I think we are. So I think he's going to win. And I, just as an aside, I have to say I don't trust the polls now. I think they're mostly fabricated. But I predict that as the weeks pass, we get into October, we're going to see because the pollsters will want to be accurate at the very end of the day, and I think we'll see Trump break away and finally prevail on November 5th. Although whether we get a decision on November 5th and 6th is a moot question.
Roger Kimball, he is the editor of the New Criterion. Roger, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Great. Take care.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
A lot of times you have to choose between something high quality or something that saves you money. But if you could get both, why not? Especially when it comes to health care, and that is MediShare. You get both. Many families save $500 a month with MediShare, and that's huge. But it's also true that people wind up way more satisfied, too. The member satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. That's because MediShare works. It has for more than 30 years. It's a community of Christians who have shared more than $5 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth. They love the huge PPO network. So, yeah, really, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price in 2 minutes. Here's the number. Just call 844-47-BIBLE. That's 844-47-BIBLE. 844-47-BIBLE.
At Signature Bank, going the distance for business banking customers is what we do every day. We understand that business owners have a strategic mission, a drive to succeed, a plan for growth, and don't have time to wait for a bank to respond. With Signature Bank, you not only have a banking partner that has roots right here in Chicago, but our decisions are made locally too. Signature Bank knows that when you have a question or problem about your business, you want answers. You need someone who will pick up the phone or respond to your text.